Hey, this is the firebox here. I've just been giving it a bit of a spray. I gave it a spray last night and another one a little while ago. Seems rather thin though. It's got two coats, but it's sort of thin enough. Of potbelly black. I've sort of done the bottom of the unit as well, and I made sure I got all the welds and everything as well, and even your plate on the side covering where the fittings used to be, and I got stuck into it on the top as well. And the anode as well. But yeah, I've got to bolt the firebox back on the bottom, make up some sort of little sheet metal arrangement to sit on all these, and then probably pack it up with a bit of cardboard and masking tape and crap before I put the insulating foam in, and hopefully the foam will go up to around here somewhere, but I'm thinking I may even let it go higher and try and plug up the exhaust holes there. But yeah, I don't have access to a trailer to move this until quite late tonight after dark, so may even happen tomorrow. So I'm going to work on the electricals, and I'll show you the battery that we have. Hopefully the wind doesn't stuff all this up because it's blowing a bit. Now, here's the battery we have. Still wearing my damn slippers. Decent sized battery. I think it says it's 800 CCA cold cranking amps. We've got to use about 2.5 amps on something that can handle a surge of 800 amps. So I think we're going to be alright, but he said it was in pretty rough quality and he's not flipping joking. Look at the stains and crap. I have to clean this up. A couple of these caps, that one there isn't going down too well. I might have a bit of muck in there, but yeah, had to clean all that up, and I've got battery terminals in my pocket. We're going to start mucking around with the wiring up for the solar system while we're waiting for the paint to dry, but I don't think there's much we can do other than the solar system today, because we're not going to be able to move this thing probably till tomorrow, the hot water system, so I'll go and belt this thing in its place and make up a little setup for it and all the wiring and the cigarette lighter plug and blah blah blah. Yeah, the hell of bits and pieces there. This is this charge controller. You probably can't see it too well. It's more just this regulator, I think, but nothing grand. $30, 6 amps that can handle surges of 10 amps. Little lights on the top. Oh, you can't. Yeah, sort of see them. That one there's the charging light, and there's another one there that's the full light. Yeah, it's me heap of stuff that I've got to solder up. I've got a cigarette lighter plug as well out in the car. There's me 2 battery terminals. Unfortunately, the panel here, they wrecked the stupid wire, so I've put a bit of silicon, a bit of neutral cure silicon on the wire there, and that's got to set for a day before I can even move it or do anything. But yeah, I got to make up a little, basically a bit of this black ply on a couple of bits of 4x2, just to sort of elevate the battery off the ground. I've cleaned the battery up with a bunch of wipes, and there's still some crusty crap there, but all of that on the top was all flipping grease from the tractor. It wasn't really electrolyte, it was actually grease. But the electrolyte's down a little bit, so I probably should top that up as well. I think it's got a tendency to boil, this one, so I might be a little bit hesitant to top it up, but yeah, it's raining at the moment, and the rain's starting to drip in on this as it's spattering on the concrete there. But yeah, I've got to clean the terminals up, and I'll whack the battery terminals on, and we'll put a bit of Vaseline on those, a bit of petroleum jelly, and make a move to move a bit of stuff around in the bathroom, because that's where I store a massive amount of well, basically laundry detergent. I've probably got a 1.5 year supply of it in there, along with shampoo, hand soap, you know, the liquid hand soap and all that. So I've got to move stuff around and get a spot for it in there and start doing a bit of soldering. There she is, bolted on. I've got the ashtray sitting in there. I won't actually have that in there when I transport it, obviously. I'll just take that out. But yeah, and she's there. So that's ready for transport. I've got to still vacuum. I think there's a bit of, possibly a bit of flux from the welding that's got inside the actual opening there. So I want to try and whack a vacuum cleaner hose down and suck around the bottom in case there's anything in there. And yeah, then get on with the sheet metal on the outside and the insulation there, and I've got to do the muffler putty as well. And yeah, I got the charge control here, little 6 amp toy. Get your 2 lights there, one says charging and the other's battery full. But I'm supposed to put a 10 amp fuse, and I've got plenty of 10 amp fuses, but I don't have the little fitting to, little socket to put the 10 amp fuse in. Well, lo and behold, you find some things when you're stripping out cars of copper. And it fits. How's that? That's a plug out of a 1980 ZJ Ford Fairlane, Australian built, and little blade fuse out of a 86 Nissan or something. But I mean, these are just a normal blade fuse that are in most cars. But it fits perfectly. Now I want to show you something else too. This stuff here comes in like big lengths, and you get it for absolutely peanuts. And as you can see, I've got the solder join there between the two. Yeah, it's a bit messy. I made sure I slopped on a good heap, because these older cables out of older cars, even though they've still got insulation over them, sometimes you have trouble soldering them because the wire inside the insulation is just starting to go a little bit funny after, well, you know, 34 years. So instead of doing a job that your old man might do and putting electrical tape on it, you use this stuff. Now, if I can do all this one-handed, which I probably can't, watch this. Alrighty. There's that. Oh, my fingers are going to burn. But what's actually happening there is it is shrinking. And this is basically a heat-activated insulating shrink wrap stuff. I could do a little bit more on this side. You should really use a cigarette lighter, but I don't know where the hell. Oh, well, I know I've got one in the back of the car, but you can see where the rough solder joint is there, the bump there. It's starting to come out a bit. You don't put it right on it, but you hold it near it. Oh, now it's really starting to work. And there we go. Nice, clean, professional looking joint. Not some blimmin' funny old man one that's covered in stupid ass electrical tape. This is good stuff. I do recommend buying it. You get different sizes for different thickness wires, and you got to sort of experiment a little bit. I'll do that just a little bit more in a second. But anyway, you get an idea of how it works. Okay, we've been trying to work out the exact placement that this is going to be, and this blasted pipe for the shower pump is that short, it's ridiculous. You know, here it is on its stand, you know, and we're about there. Rightio. Now look at how many more we're going to be. You see where the end of that spray painted B is there. A blue bit of chalk, that's basically where it's got to go in. Or maybe you see the other blue chalk mark on the B there. my gosh, this thing has to be raised up astronomically just because of this short pipe. Now, it'd be easy to actually just to lengthen the blasted pipe on the shower pump, which is going to require me to have to go and get extra parts and stuff around with fittings and whatnot, and maybe have a slightly reduced flow, you know, because of the fittings in the pipeline and a longer pipe. But I'm going to play around, try and raise it up a little bit with bricks to try and, you know, give it a bit of a better height. And I've also had it suggested as well that I should do that just to keep the fire higher than the grass, even though I'll only really be using this when the grass is green. But it's not a stupid idea either, just for the purposes of not having things rust, to have it sort of higher up a little bit, because then the grass won't touch it and, you know, make it all wet and whatnot. But yeah, my shower base is exceedingly high because the grey water line here goes out a very long distance, and I knew that I had to have it high to get it to keep it on, you know, carrying the water out. You know, if I wanted the water to go as far away from the house as it does. But yeah, you know, this is something I might have to change, is that pump, and we'll see how we go. Just give us a second here. I'll try and turn the lights on this and show you the drip lines I was talking about underneath this. There we go. I had this on its back and I could see it really good when I brought it over here with the trailer. I don't know if you'll be able to see it now. Oh, you can too, see? The drip lines there, running into the centre one, just like I had in the drawing. You see them quite clearly there. What I basically done was just got a bit of wood, like a bit of floorboard, and basically stuck the floorboard about here on an angle, and then the drips were coming down, dripping off in the middle there, and then hitting the floorboard and running forwards to the front of the firebox, and then going down into the grate there, and basically filling up water into the ashtray. And that worked quite alright. But you know, this is just condensation concepts and whatnot. But I want to try and get muffler putty into here today, and I think you basically got to fire it as well to help the muffler putty set. So I've got to get a bit of water into this at least and get it fired. But I want to be able to get it up high enough before I get water in, because I tell you what, this thing is unbelievably heavy when you have water in it. Alrighty. Oh, I've drilled some holes through the hole saw that you can probably see there. I've got my headlamp on, I'll just see if I can light up a bit better. And put a little bit of pipe on the bottom of those. And the main pipe that used to fill the tub that the Coleman hot water on demand feeds out of, I've pulled that out, wiped the outside of it with a baby wipe. My gosh, there was some dust on it. And chuck that out through the wall there to be able to fill the hot water system. Yeah, I've got to continue on with the electrical system and whatnot. Still put another hole through the wall for the electrical system. Won't be much playing around or YouTubing tonight, I tell you what. Yeah, we've got a pretty late start to the day, but I'm still hoping to do the putty, probably using my headlamp, and see how we go. But yeah, I'm going to be pushing it really hard to get it up, because that's where my inlet there is going to be. And basically, the length of the pipe is 1.8 metres. I'm going to have to stick another piece of pipe in it, but the vertical distance is 1.8 metres, so the pump's got to be running it, you know, as hard as it can. And you know, why I need to put a bit of extension on the pipe is it still has to come from this wall here back through to this shower head, you know, because there's a gap between obviously the edge of your shower base here and your wall, and then there's still a gap between your edge of your shower base and your actual shower head. And look at this one here. Look at the blooming white crystals on it. blooming calcium or something in the water, so I'm going to have to run a bit of CLR through the coleman probably in spring or whatever, which it recommends to do, but yeah, because we're building up a bit of muck, and I think there's a bit of white in the line as well. Anyway, getting a bit off topic here, but I'll show you outside. Alright, I'll show you a little few tricks here with these 12-volt submersible water pumps. Now, you can obviously pull these out of the water by lifting up their hose or lifting up their power cord and get them out of the water. But I want to sort of keep it at a set depth in the hot water system. And I don't really want to go sticking any glue or tape or anything like a hose clamp to restrict this pipe, and I really don't want to put glue or any muck on the power cord either. There you go. That's off a drench container. That's a bit of high density polyethylene, like your 4 or 5 gallon cube water containers, but not the clear ones. It's just like a white one, but I mean the clear ones can work as well. And I got a bit of blue glue. You just see the trickle of it there near my thumb. But yeah, that's also on the housing of the submersible pump, and I've glued this to it using the plumber's glue that you use to, well, basically connect together the PVC pipes, and then put a bit of baling twine through a hole there. And that's the way I get it to go the level I want to go. Now, this is unfortunate. Oh, that one's not too bad. This side, I don't think this is going to show it properly. Oh, you can see it now. There's a bit of corrosion, see? And if that's a real trouble, I have come across this problem before. And what you can actually do is you can sand this and use really fine paper, 200 grit, 240 grit, something like that. Sand it back. Then try not to get your greasy fingers over it, and if you do, use a very small amount of acetone or nail polish remover, but only just a little puff of it on, some toilet paper or something, and, wipe that to degrease it, obviously, in case you do get your fingers on it while you're sanding it, because this has got to be perfectly clean to take electronics flux, I mean rosin cord solder, that rosins your electronics flux. And, the stuff, it's sort of like a brown, crystally looking stuff that you may get on the side of some of your solder joins when you do electronics. What I'm basically saying is don't go ahead and belt on some plumber's flux or something like that, because you'll destroy these things. But I got a trickle charger for the battery in, well, that's car I used, hillbilly way of getting down the weeds, where you just rammed a lot of them with the car. That car drags around a lot of firewoods. I think even when I talk about log trailers for homesteading use, you might see that car. But that has a trickle charger on the battery because I don't often drive it. And same thing happened. Went rusty like this, and I sanded it back. And then I put a plating of solder on there, electronic solder. And if you get it a bit thick, that's fine, so long as you get it to connect initially. But then you've got to go back over it and basically wipe your soldering iron clean, or flick it clean, as I usually do, which some people don't like doing, and then hit it with a soldering iron, get it to melt, to absorb as much solder off this joint as you can to make it really, really thin layer of solder, so it'll still fit in the blasted plug without a problem. And that's why you've got to make sure it's a nice thin layer. But initially you should be more interested in actually getting it to coat with solder and getting the flux to get on there and coat, and get that sorted first, and then you can come back later and wipe it out. Because if you're too worried about putting it thin in the first case, the way it is with resin flux, if it doesn't bond rather quickly, it just ends up going all crusty and crap over your surface, and you've got to clean the flux off to be able to even have another shot with the flux and have another go. So just try and get a layer of solder on there first, and then come back secondarily and thin it out. But that's a very ingenious little stunt that I use when I have trouble plugs like this one is likely to be. Fortunately, I have a second one of these pumps, but I'm going to have to basically stick on one of those, which is no big deal. Yeah, but I'm just hoping to use this one. But with a bit of hope, it'll get the power through this better side anyway. I'm going to tell you about another little hack you can do. I've got to put some of this up. This is basically 15 amp 240 volt cable. It's an old extension lead I had, and I was rubbing it with baby wipes to get all the blasted mud off it. Anyways, I'm going to have this run from where my 20 watt semi-flexible solar panel is going to be down to the charge controller. And there's a few meters, and basically, I think this is about good enough cable to do the job. Now, this is old, and I can't really say for sure if it's not going to have a break somewhere down this line. And there's a few meters here. I've got 2 bits, and that one's, what's going on here? Oh yeah, this one here's just for the cigarette lighter plug back to the battery, and this one here is the one that goes to solar panel. And I think there's basically 4.5 meters of it here, and almost the length of a car. And quite simply, what you do is you switch your multimeter to continuity mode, and you put it on. I've got a red and a black there, which they usually don't do that with AC cables, but the old ones they did have red and black, and now it's like brown and blue, I think it is. And then you've got your yellow or your green yellow or your straight green earth, which this is a green yellow earth. But what you do is you go and strip back the wires, and you get your blue and your red, and you tie them together. You just twitch them together, just in your fingers, twitch them like that on one end. On the opposite end, you get your solder and you get your multimeter, you turn it to continuity test, and you put one prong on the red and one prong on the black. It doesn't really matter which one. And if it beeps, you know that there's no break in the line, and you're good to go. So yeah, that's one stunt. You might actually want to do it twice. You might want to do it when it's sitting on the ground like this, and then after you've put it up onto the wall and hooked it on with, oh yeah, I've got some here, your little, oh, there's one there, little fasteners. There's a little nail there, and you slam him through into the wood framing. Once you got it on the wall, you may also want to test it a second time to check that the way you've got it placed on the wall, if there was a bit that was touching when it was all right up on the ground, that was fine, and then when you got it stretched out on the wall, there's a bit that's, well, you know, the wire's moved and now it's not touching anymore. You'll find that out if you test it when it's on the wall. So test it when it's on the ground like this, and also after you've attached it to the wall with these sort of little clips as well. Might be the eggs boiling in the background, but you should be able to hear this. Put a bit of water in it because I got to put in a bit of muffler putty, and then it suggests to run the vehicle for 15 minutes. So I'm going to light a little bit of a fire in there. Gotta go get me ashtray as well. Still sitting in the car. I'm going to try and fill up these little gaps here. I don't know that there's a real need for it, but you know, it's the idea is to stop the smoke going up the side so much. But the fact of the matter is, now that we've run it, we know that you always end up getting smoke coming out the front anyway, because it doesn't have enough little holes to vent well enough. I'll let this fill up about halfway at least, and then start working the muffler putty. Alright, Alrighty, well we put it in. It tells you to spray water in the area and then put the putty in. You get the putty out, it's as sloppy as sloppy. It's worse than the average load of icing sugar. It's just sloppy as buggery, and then you're trying to put it on a place that you've just, you know, sprayed with water, and it just, you're wondering if it's even got a hold. When I was putting it here, I thought the whole lot was just going to fall through. But then it says, to assist drying, run the car engine for 15 minutes, and I sort of am. So, yeah, just a little bit of a fire I got going there. I just put 2 little fire lighters in the bottom of that. It may be cracking a little bit too high already. Let's see if I can settle it down a little bit. There we go. Blasted long stuff all hanging at the front, but this is guaranteed dry because I've kept this in a vehicle for about 2 years. I've got a whole vehicle full of this blooming pine decking, untreated. So yeah, but anyway, it seems to have dried reasonably fast even on the edges of the tin where I was scooping it out, and you can see even now it's drying a little bit too. Maybe a little bit too quickly. Anyway, I won't put any more wood in for a while now, or I might just leave it at that altogether. And yeah, I got that about half full of water too. She's up to about here somewhere, I think. But yeah. Should be able to hear it hissing. I don't think you're going to see it with this camera, but there's a bit of wood in there. It's wet right in the middle, and it's doing what it usually does, what I think I'm going to have to become accustomed to, and that is dripping down from the middle yet again. I don't know where it gets this moisture from. I think most of it comes out of the air. I think there's going to be a bit coming out of some of this putty as well. And that's actually starting to dry quite nicely. Seems to be building up more blooming water droplets on this part here. That's probably from the drying putty, actually. But I think it's just that time of year. You know, I've been looking at some of the humidity levels we've got, and they're 87, 92, stuff like this. You know, so I can sort of understand this, but I'll show you the ashtray actually. Can't really see it now, but before, you should be able to see it if I take it out. See the water droplets coming down in the middle bar? This is actually getting a bit of water in it before, but the radiant heat's actually dried it out, but yeah. I see like spatter marks in the front there where the water's been splashing in the bottom. It's still dripping down there. I'm starting to understand now why a lot of them, they just use wood stoves and put a steel pipe through the back of it, through the back of the firebox. But I have seen a hot water system that was like this in my neighbour's place at the other property I used to own that I bought back in 2008, that I sort of sold. And Mum was telling me that when I was about 5 years old, their sole source of hot water was also a hot water system like this. And yeah, it'd take quite a while to warm up. Anyway. I ain't gonna believe it, but this dirty bit of blooming sheet metal below me here, I measured round the outside where the coaching bolts are, and about the size it's got to be is the same as this is long. So we're going to be set to a set sort of height, which isn't as tall as I was hoping, but we can still improvise and rivet some more stuff on. So when we overlap this, I'm going to have to overlap it with about an inch or half an inch and rivet it up there, because it's actually the exact length that it should be, touching from one tip to the other tip. So yeah, that sort of worked out remarkably well, because it means I don't have to actually chop anything with an angle grinder or tin snips or anything like that, except I'm going to put a few little slots in the bottom here to sort of sit on the coaching bolts nicely. But yeah, well, there we go. She looks sort of big. It's taller than I thought it was, actually, sitting on the coaching bolts there. That works out about 4 inches, I think, that it's running around there. So yeah, wasn't too hard to do, because I know how to deal with sheet metal without bending it and doing stupid things. Just went along and run it, riveted it. There's a little bit of overlap you can see there. I don't know if that's too tall or what. Oh no, it's not that tall. Anyway, I've got to now go and try and whack in, well, probably some cardboard. I mean, this is stone cold now, you know, no heat whatsoever in it. And try and get cardboard or something along here, probably a whole heap of masking tape or duct tape or gaffer tape or whatever, and then get into this with the expansion foam. And I might plug the exhaust pipes at the top, like the, you know, tubes going through it where the smoke comes out, so that the expansion foam doesn't get back down. But it's a fireproof expansion foam. And I've already got a bit of, I don't know if you see, a bit of paper over the normal outlet there. Yeah. I got up on the ladder and I thought, this is a pretty good view, so I should show you this view. Gee, it's a fair width. I don't know if I've got enough expansion foam to fill this entirely, but if you're wondering where the hose was when I had it running, you know, the fire going in it before to dry the muffler putty out, it was tucked in the wall there and wasn't touching the side, even though it's touching the sheet metal there now. Yeah. Anyway. Alrighty. We've got the cardboard on it. All the way around. This is a bit of stuff that was excess from when I was building the cardboard house. But as I was rubbing all this tape on here, I realised something. There's about half a tank of water. I only had this going for 20 minutes and this is still really quite warm. And it's like, 2 hours after I burnt it, you know. So anyway, we've got to get up the top there and get this expansion foam in as we're standing on our ladder. Alrighty, I put a bit of cardboard on top as well, and yeah, that cover was on there before for the main opening there, but I've been spraying a bit of water down the sides, and it actually helps the expansion foam, should see the words fire rated there, it helps to cure, and it actually needs water to cure, otherwise it won't cure properly. So that's why I've been giving a little squirty squirt, and I might squirt it some more, and then just basically blast it down the hole. Alrighty people, so I'm up here with the semi-flexible solar panel, trying to get little lugs mounted. Of course, I'm trying to get me points right, and I got the first 2 points right at the top, and the bottom ones, well, the damn chalk's too fat to fit through the holes, and then I didn't bring up a pencil or a smaller drill bit, anything to mark it with, because I had so much other crap I had to bring up. I made sure I only brought up what I needed to bring up. But anyway, this is one part of the gable. There's the other part, and there's like the chimney. That's that chimney that I had the flap thing on, and it just turned into a bloody circus. So I just made it like a normal one, and then you got your second one there as well. That's what the wood stow's coming out of. Anyway, there's me wood heater one, and there's the thing. You can see the camper / caravan down there. That's full of firewood. But yeah, the sunlight should come through the trees there. Where you got the V there, on the right side you got the solar system for the fridge, and on the left side you got me 2 panels that run the house. And of course the light should shine up. into all this. And this is like a bit of cement sheet, and this is like my bathroom. That's the bathroom roof. Oh, actually, I think you can see the top of the hot water system. No, you can't. Alrighty, she's on. A little bit tight with this corner bolt here, but it would have been nice if we actually had, you know, distances on the instructions of how far we're going to go from each bolt to the other. That silicone job I done on that sort of worked out alright, and I just put it through a hole there, but I've got to go get a bit of sealant to put in that hole. And then, yeah, a bunch of wire inside, and we'll have a working electrical system. I still need to get some more of that expansion foam, because the so-called 38 litres was, oh gosh, barely 7 litres that come out of the can, so had to get a few more cans. Well, late last night I got her all hooked up, and in my haste, after telling you guys on how to do continuity testing, I never actually continuity tested this wire that carries the power from the solar panel back, and I didn't know if it was actually going to work. And in the morning, of course, it was still dark when I went to work, but there we go. There's a little charging light turned on the charge controller. So we have success. There we go, that's him. You can't really see it under that great amount of light. I'll see if I can just cover the LEDs and show you again. There you go. Little charging light going. But basically, when you've got a 20-watt panel under crap light conditions most of the time, on a massive battery like this that's sort of, you know, not in very good condition, it's going to spend most of the time charging, but I don't think it's going to be too bad to have like half an amp worth of trickle charge on such a large battery. But at some point I may put some battery rejuvenator into it. There's a thing that Inox makes. It's like a battery restorer stuff, and basically it's a chemical method of desulfurizing the plates as opposed to you know, putting them on an appropriate charger or one of those sulfur blaster boxes that, you know, desulfurizes the plates. But I have noticed my car battery is getting a little bit soggy on it, and there's a chance that my car battery may be replacing this one in a while, who knows when. Alrighty, well, I try to get these going, and with no luck, you wouldn't believe it. I got 2 of them here. These are out of the backup shower. 30 seconds worth of total use, 0 seconds worth of use. Bought about, I don't know, a year back or something like that. Maybe a year and a half. Bloody useless. This one here is more or less seized. You can barely move the damn thing. This one here moves a little bit easier, quite a bit easier actually. But if you power it up, nothing happens. Now, it's obviously switched on, and you'll see it arc. The little sparks there. So it's obviously taken some sort of draw, because it is actually sparking. But it's not going to actually work for me. So I've been shaking them and wiggling them and moving them around with my finger, and all that happens is the engine itself up here gets warm, and good old Chinese junk, eh? Not going to work until I go and get another one. Now basically the new model is a bit more powerful motor in them. I mean, these are just junk. It's sat there doing nothing for a year and a half, and I don't know if you can see that. All that end part there is rusted. The other one, I jumped a gun with this, and it was rusted a bit, so I put a bit of solder on. It was making contact and all, otherwise it wouldn't be arcing there. I don't know if you could see it, but I've been seeing it arcing quite well, and just nothing except warming the motor up. So, we're all stalled until I get another one of those. I will say this line here, I've found out is 8mm line, and I got two of these 8mm to 13mm or half-inch adapters, so that I can actually, cut this and put an extension of, say, 1.5 foot or 2 foot or whatever, and then, allow me to get a bit more length out of it, without sort of greatly restricting the flow, because it's actually going to go to a larger pipe for that 1.5 foot, 2 foot, and then go back smaller. But it doesn't seem like we're going to be doing anything for the time being, and I just got to finish insulation, and I've done a bit more of that tonight, and we'll show more of that tomorrow. Alrighty, got a bit of this stuff. I've never tried this before. I thought it was a bit expensive, but it turns out it's only $10 each. What it is it basically removes sulfation on the batteries, and it's got a little booklet inside which allows you to calculate. And for the great big giant tractor battery I got, I need about 3 of them. So $30 to bring back to life a battery that's worth about $250. It goes on a bit about that sulfation and that. This is basically the chemical version of desulfurizing a battery, and you just got like a little blue one-handed again, blue liquid inside a container, and you pour it in. It turns out I've got to pour in basically about half of this per each cell, and yeah, before long it works quite well. You can even put a new battery, so it reckons, but anyways, I want to get my old battery firing. Little solar system's been charging on it, so it's working alright, but of course, it spends most of the day charging because it never quite hits the voltage that it's supposed to. Got this one too. And this is basically the same thing, slightly longer hose, cheaper, crappier looking plug, different water switch, different pump, a little bit, but it's much the same thing. The shower head's absolutely identical, and it just looks like the inlet there is different, and they give you a shitty plug instead of a good one. Slightly different looking power switch. I'll get this out and I'll turn it on. There we go, it's pretty much the same thing, just black, and the switch on it is slightly different. It's like a toggle. With the other one you push it up and down. This one the damn thing's not too good at turning off. Anyway, I won't run it dry any more than we need to. But that's it there. And then you got your little filter part with your sponge in it that screws on. The plug is rather cheap, crappy thing. But at the end of the day, I don't know if it really matters. Now, I could have gone and bought the slightly better brand like the ones I already had, which basically have the same shower head but a bit more stronger pump and whatnot. But then I was going to have to go to another place, blah, blah, blah. I just want to get on with this thing. And the fact of the matter is you probably got the same blasted motor in there, just a slightly nice looking pump. And because it's been a year and a half since I bought the other ones, there's a chance that I'll get this other one and the pump will be absolutely identical, just blue instead of black. And, you've gone running all over the place to get the same damn thing. The shower hose is 2 meters instead of 1.8. Yeah, the switch, I don't like the switch with the toggle thing. I like the other one where you just push up and down and it clicks in and out. But that's a bit of a shonky switch, but like everything made in China, it's all a bit shonky. Anyway, we know the motor in this is running, and hopefully we'll be able to pump water before too long. Get this plugged in the car cigarette lighter again. She's just starting to rain a bit. So she's going pretty good. Not too bad, actually. All we need is a decent bloody switch in the bastard. Alrighty, you got the big battery there set up. Believe it or not, I don't know if you can see it, she's taking a charge, even on this overcast day, which I'm pleased about. There's my plug over there. And I just plugged this little banger up. Ran fine. My father used horns on that giant battery there, and I reckon the horns are sounding a bit sick, so the volts are dropping. I was worried that I might not have enough volts really to kick over the pump, but burst the life without a problem. And by the time we put the inox battery reconditioner in the caps, we should be flying. Alrighty, there we go. Sort of done here. Extension. Put about another metre of pipe on. Now that goes from 8mm to 1/2 inch, because I didn't want to give it any more constriction than it absolutely needs, plus I had a fair bit of 1/2 inch hanging around. And back again. So, yeah, basically this will give me extra length. The old ones were 1.8 metre, that was the two ones that I couldn't get to run. This one's apparently 2 metre. Add another metre so we've got plenty of room to play with, so we can get the shower head, you know, up near where the other one is, not like against the blasted wall. Yeah. And I've got to have a little plate that this runs through, which goes over the top of the hot water system to stop basically the smoke and soot dropping in with the water. And I'll make that out of a little soft drink can, or I've got another bit of sheet metal. And got to trim a bit of the insulation, and we should be just about ready to go. Alrighty, I'm trimming back all the insulation here. I want to create a bit of an angle around all this insulation so that basically if there's any water hits it, it can run out with me drilling holes here. So I'm going to drill, I don't know, a few holes around the side, so that if any water gets into all this, it'll just hit there and bang, go out the hole. I'm talking rainwater while in use. You may think it's not something worth worrying about, but I've decided to do it anyway. What I'm realising is, and I've known this before and I might as well show you guys, you get these patches that are still wet. There's a dry bit sitting in the wet bit there. Now your best option is just to basically spray it with a bit of water. But I've sort of gummed up the knife a little bit and it's making it hard to saw around a bit. So I might go and have something to eat and then come back and have another go at it and rip this off and load her all up. I think I've got to drill a hole too for, that's my pipe coming out. That's got to be my incoming or ingoing one. And I might drill another one sort of further down here for the actual power plug to go through. And then we are pretty much going to be right. I'm also going to make up a little cover that goes over the top of this. And I'll get a bit of, I don't know, sheet metal, probably corrugated iron or whatever, and maybe rivet on some little L brackets, just to sort of keep it seated on there. Maybe plonk a rock on top to hold that down. Yeah. We're supposed to be having a pretty dry winter apparently, but yeah, things have been stalled a bit with all the flaming rain. So I'm going to have to get on and make this cover and try and do it in the veranda here. With all the damn firewood laying around. How's that for a log? Okay, I think it's only about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, but my gosh, it's dark as dark here. Anyway, almost got all this done. Pretty much. The only thing I'm not completely liking is that I can't see the water level here. I cut all this down rather low. There's some of this that isn't completely this stuff because this is the expensive stuff. That's the one thing that did surprise me big time. On top of the condensation issue was this stuff. How much they tell you you get in a can and how much you get. 38 plus or minus 3 litres comes out at about, realistically, 7 litres. And you go through tons of the blasted stuff. And at $37 a can, you know, it was ridiculously costed. So I got a bit of this, which is your beige version. Which is not fire resistant, and that's actually in the middle. But it come very close to the top here, and I accidentally got a bit too savage with a knife, and yeah, basically glued some back on using a bit of glue that I had from the cardboard house. So I got plenty of glue left over from the cardboard house, so that the top layer of this remains fire resistant, because this beige stuff got close to the top, and I went a little bit too deep and actually cut into the beige. Anyway, another hole in the wall. That duct tape is not sticking at all. I've only put that there just to protect the wire, but that's where the wire and the switch goes through. There's your, oh, that was there before. Oh, this is your main one that goes through here, takes your water in. Now, I put an extension on that, and it turns out I was worried about having to duct tape or glue the side of it like I did with the other pump or something, you know, duct tape the pipe to the sheet metal to get this the right height. It turns out where I made the actual connection, I'll see if I can climb a bit higher and show you, happens to be right on the verge of where it goes through the wall. So if I just sit that inside the wall a little bit and let this feed through as much as it can, or close to as much as it can, it's pretty much the right height. That worked out unexpectedly, but very well. And yeah, got a 13mm hole there. That's obviously sitting in. I cut a chunk out for your water inlet, and there's your cable. The only thing I don't like, as I said, is I can't tell how much water's actually in this thing. Having said that, if I was to get, you know, close enough to the wall, inside, or stand out here and listen, you should be able to tell by the pitch of the drizzling noise of it filling up how full it is. Also, having said that, I can keep filling this till this overflows. Worst thing that's going to happen, first of all, is it's going to run out, what I forgot to show you, the little holes that I've drilled. That one's a little bit high. There's the other one. Oh, there. I come from the outside with that one. It ended up creating a little groove in the insulation there. But if this overflows, it's likely to just end up going over this and emptying out of that one there anyway. So it's not a big deal, unless I go crazy and let it overflow for 5 minutes, then it'll fall back down through to the fire, which is not a good idea. All I've really got to do now is make up a cover for all this. And this pipe was giving me a bit of grief, and I had a little one of those tie wire things, quite a long one, and there's an old hole where this has been nailed to the shed or whatever, and I went straight through that hole and tied it off, and yeah, all now we've got to do is just make the top cover and learn to work out how full the water is. It might actually include me lifting this cover off every now and then, but I can do that by grabbing hold of, you know, some of the pipes or just lifting the cover off, and yeah. Alrighty. Well, we got it on. There's a little O-ring I had to put in there in the connection. Stupid buggers. Look at the coleman. Nice, straightforward, 90 degree. Woodwork clamp with the ends clipped off it, and it come down the perfect size there for the coleman. Well, these dickheads decide to put it on an angle So then you've got to work out some way to angle it. And I was going to cut a piece of wood, blah, 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 and I thought, hang on a minute, I've got plenty of foam. So I cut a shape out of some of the insulation foam and whacked it on with a zip tie. And even now when I look at it, it's still going to be sort of spraying back towards the wall a little bit, but a lot better, you know, than it was. But, lemon, couldn't believe it. Not a simple flaming answer for that one. But anyway, you know, if that's the worst of our problems, then we don't have many problems. I'll take you around and show you where I plugged the thing in here. Oh, there he is. Plugged in. You see there's a little cap there that actually comes with the fitting. It's a crap bloomin' cigarette lighter plug fitting that I bought, and it's also a crap one on the actual shower pump, but it works all right enough. Well, it does work. That switch there, I'm going to try and pull that through a bit more. It's still a crap switch, you know, this whole idea of flicking it, and the damn rubber over the switch wants to flick it back on again all the time, and it's a bit of a muck around. But I want to try and bring that inside a bit more, and probably gaffer tape it up to the side of the framing here or whatever, or at least some of the wiring, so that I've, you know, got access to the switch just behind, you know, the shower, so I don't have to flip and get past me Coleman's gas bottle here and all this crap just to turn this thing on and off. But yeah, there we go, people. I got into it with the scissors, cut the stupid rubber off it. It's just a normal switch inside a rubber thing, and it just keeps flicking back. Typical stupid Chinese design. So I'm just going to leave it like that and make sure I have a dry finger when I turn it on or off. And I've worked out quite a while ago that you can basically dry your finger for turning on and off the switches that run the Coleman by wiping it on the cement sheet higher up in the shower where it's dry, and it just seems to soak the water straight off your finger. So yeah, I'll be doing that, or leaving a already here, bit of rag there to wipe my finger with before I turn it off. Just put a bit of electrical tape on the gas bottle for the Coleman here, and that seems to be hanging quite well there. So I got the wood heater running, so just trying to warm the room up there, and I'm going to get this running and have a shower. And well, I'm not going to cook anything on the wood stove, but I could if I really wanted to. But yeah, make use of this thing, and I'll have in the description how the shower went. Well, it's not dripping condensation anymore. Oh, you beauty! Look at that! You can't see it, but there's steam pouring off of that. Oh, beauty! Fantastic! Fantastic! There you can see the steam. Well, that's it, peoples. Oh, try not to touch that with wet hands. I don't know what the rest of you are doing, but I am having a shower. What I was saying about the condensation was there's no more condensation dripping back down into the, look, you should be able to see, you can too. Steam coming off my hand. There's no more condensation dripping back down the tubes into the firebox. So that means, more or less, that we've hit the dew point, but I tend to think that means it's usually warm enough too. Might be a good indication of telling how warm it actually is. You know, purely by that, it'll mean it's warm enough to use the shower. Still steam coming off my hand. Unbelievable. Anyway, I'm getting in.